Revealed, how a cleaning lady's incredible ACT saved a millionaire's special daughter in 12 heartwarming hours. Maria wiped the sweat from her brow as she leaned against the gleaming marble counter of the Thompson mansion. The chandeliers sparkled above her, illuminating the opulence of this life she'd only glimpsed from the outside. As a single mother working 2 jobs, she often spent her days cleaning the lavish space, dreaming of a better life for her son, Lucas. But today felt different. While dusting ornate family portraits, Maria caught snippets of a conversation drifting from the next room. Her heart sank as she overheard David Thompson's daughter, Emma, being mercilessly bullied at school. The threats, the teasing, the injustice made Maria's chest tighten. There was a sound of vulnerability in Emma's quivering voice, along with her father's frustration. How could they be so cruel? Maria whispered under her breath. It mirrored her own struggles, juggling rent and bills while worrying about her son, and now, she felt an unexpected bond with Emma. Without thinking, she decided to act. Fueled by a fierce belief that families depended on each other, she started mentoring the sweet girl during her own lunch breaks. "Stand tall, Emma," Maria urged as she watched Emma slouch with defeat. "You are worthy. Show them your strength." Gradually, she saw Emma's timid demeanor start to shift. The timid girl began to sparkle with newfound confidence. Each little victory, like sharing her artwork with the class, felt monumental, igniting hope within both of them. Could their connection shatter the walls of wealth and class surrounding them? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue, but with hope came fear. One afternoon, as whispers swirled through the neighborhood about Emma's bullying, the situation escalated. An incident at school forced Maria to confront her deepest insecurities about her job and the growing friendship she cherished. The community buzzed. "Those people don't belong here," some muttered, while others simply shook their heads. As a mother, Maria felt the weight of everyone's scrutiny. But she couldn't abandon Emma, not when she was starting to thrive. Determined, Maria organized a community event. She envisioned families from all walks of life coming together to celebrate their differences and strength. It would bridge the gap, a chance to stand up against prejudice. Yet, as the event loomed closer, secrets dug up from David's past threatened everything. Uncertainty twisted inside Maria like a storm. With tensions rising, would they be able to come together? Would love and empathy truly conquer prejudice? As Maria rehearsed her speech on the eve of the event, she felt the chill of doubt creep in. Could she truly change the narrative? Could she lift Emma and herself from the chains of expectation? The stakes were higher than ever, and as the clock ticked down, despair mingled with hope, leaving both women grappling with the unknown. Would their fight transcend the barriers that had long divided them? Maria stared into the mirror, her heart racing. The reflection staring back at her was a mix of determination and fear. Her dress, a borrowed piece that barely fit, made her feel like an imposter in this world of elegance. She fidgeted with the hem, willing away the insecurities that clawed at her. "Mom, you'll do great." Lucas's voice broke through her thoughts. He was dressed sharply in his own little suit, the way kids do when they want to impress. His innocent confidence filled her with warmth. "Thank you, sweetheart. You just wait for my big moment," she replied, forcing a smile. Outside, the community center buzzed with excitement. Families were gathering, filling the air with chatter and laughter. But Maria felt isolated, a lone figure standing on the edge of an emotional battlefield. She took a deep breath, steeling herself against the weight of judgment. When she stepped inside, the atmosphere shifted. Eyes turned, whispers darted through the crowd. Would scorn drown out her intentions? She noticed them neighbors who had once scoffed at her presence now greeted her with cautious smiles. David Thompson stood off to one side, an enigmatic figure with vulnerabilities he seldom showed. Before Maria could unpick the puzzle of his expression, she caught sight of Emma. Dressed in a bright yellow dress, she looked radiant. Confidence radiated from the young girl as she waved at Maria, her smile infectious. It was Emma's presence that broke the spell of doubt. The strength Maria had fostered in her seemed to shimmer in the air, uniting them. "Hi, Emma. You look so beautiful," Maria exclaimed, kneeling to her level. The girl's cheeks blossomed with pride, and for a moment, the noise around them faded. "Thank you. I'm so excited. Are you ready?" Emma's enthusiasm was contagious. "I'm ready if you are," Maria assured her, a flutter of courage sparking within her. As the event began, Maria found herself speaking to a crowd she never thought would listen. "Today, we embrace unity. We have all faced challenges, but love and community can guide us through," she started, her voice shaking with emotion. What happened next was surreal. As she spoke, she saw the faces of neighbors soften. Curious eyes turned from judgment to empathy. David, standing near the front, nodded in approval, the walls of his aloofness crumbling in the light of her words. Maria realized that this was more than just her story, it was theirs too. In that moment, Maria felt a connection among them all. Bullying was not exclusive to Emma, but a quiet shadow that often loomed over the community. A powerful wave surged through her, echoing the struggles of countless families, tenderly intertwining their experiences. For the first time, hope felt tangible, but as the applause broke out, Maria's heart pounded wildly in her chest. Would the courage she had dared to share truly resonate? Would it inspire real change, or just fade in time? A commotion erupted at the back of the room. She turned, eyes wide with concern. A figure, uncertain and familiar, broke through the crowd. Lucas. His eyes filled with tears, he stumbled forward. "Mom," he cried out. The room fell silent, every gaze now trained on her. Anxiety clawed at her throat. What could he possibly say that could ruin this moment? As Emma reached for Maria's hand, a new wave of uncertainty crashed over her. Would the love she championed be enough to turn this moment around? "What's wrong, Lucas?" Maria's voice was low, masking the apprehension that twisted her stomach. Every heart in the room held its breath, waiting for the small boy to speak. Lucas took a deep breath, his little frame trembling with emotion. He reached out for Maria's hand, squeezing it tightly, as if he were afraid of letting go. "Mom, I saw someone outside. They said Emma was," his voice wavered, and tears streamed down his cheeks. Maria's stomach dropped. Every knot of worry tightened in a way that felt suffocating. "What did they say, Lucas?" "Just tell me," she urged, her voice a thread of calmness amidst the chaos rising in her heart. "They said she was being bullied, and that she ran away," he stammered, each word cutting deeper than a knife. A chill rolled through Maria, and the room seemed to spin. Her eyes sought those of Emma, who had just been glowing with joy. The joyous atmosphere felt suddenly frail, like a balloon ready to pop. She needed to act, but her mind raced with questions. "Where is she, Lucas?" "I don't know," he replied, desperation lacing his words. But she was really upset. "And I think she ran toward the park." Time froze for a second as the weight of his words settled in. The protective love she had for Emma surged through her, merging with the fierce determination to protect her own son. "Everyone, I need your help." Maria's voice echoed in the community center, cutting through the shockwaves of confusion. "We need to find Emma now. It's not enough to talk about unity if we aren't willing to act together." A murmur of understanding swept through the crowd, and people started to mobilize. David stepped forward, his usual stoicism replaced by urgency. "I'll call the police. We'll get more people to search." His voice, usually so reserved, carried a conviction that was impossible to ignore. Lucas watched, still clinging to his mother's hand, his tears now glistening with fear. "Mom, I didn't mean to make it worse," he whispered. "Oh, Lucas, no. You did the right thing," she reassured him, bending down to wipe his tears. "You reminded me that we can't just talk about support. We have to show it. Emma needs us." As she prepared to head out, a flurry of movement surrounded them. Adults grabbed jackets, children darted for their parents. The atmosphere shifted from one of tension to action, fueled by a common goal. Panic flooded Maria's chest, but within that panic was a renewed strength. She had spent so much time challenging her own fears, and now, facing a real threat to Emma's well-being, she felt like a warrior ready to fight against injustice. The crowd poured out of the community center, a mass of determined faces. A sense of solidarity pulsed through them. Maria held tight to Lucas, guiding him through the chaos. "I promise we'll find her," she whispered, sending a wave of reassurance into his worried eyes. They reached the park just as the sun began to set, casting long shadows that danced on the ground. The air was thick with the scent of wet grass and impending rain. Maria's heart raced with each step, fear tugging at her but hope propelling her forward. Then, she spotted something, a flash of yellow peeking out from behind a large oak tree. "Emma!" Maria shouted as she broke into a run, Lucas trailing closely behind. But as they neared, Maria's heart sank. The girl sat huddled on the ground, her bright dress a stark contrast against the darkening grass. Emma's shoulders shook with silent sobs, her small frame so fragile in that moment. "Emma!" Maria called again, urgency igniting in her chest. Would their embrace heal her? Would it show her she wasn't alone? As she rushed to the girl, she felt the weight of a million unspoken words hanging in the air. Would Emma let her in? Would they all find a way to heal together? The moment hung heavy between them as Maria knelt down beside Emma, desperate to bridge the gap of hurt and fear. And as she reached out, a thought struck her with clarity: what if this was just the beginning? What if their fight for unity was only starting? Maria knelt on the ground, the cool grass dampening her knees as she pressed close to Emma. Her heart ached at the sight of her daughter, fragile and broken, encased in her own sorrow. It felt as if the world had come to a screeching halt, the sounds of the park fading into a distant whisper. "Emma, sweetheart!" Maria's voice trembled with emotion. She reached out, brushing a strand of hair away from Emma's tear-streaked face. "I'm here. You're not alone." Emma's bright eyes, usually so full of spark, were now clouded with fear and hurt. Maria could see the battles waging within her daughter: desperation, confusion, and shame dancing together in a chaotic swirl. "Mom, I messed up," Emma choked out, her tiny hands gripping the grass beneath her tightly. They said things, hurtful things. I thought maybe if I just disappeared, it would hurt less." A lump formed in Maria's throat. How could such innocent joy be extinguished by the cruelty of others? She swept Emma into her arms, holding her close, tightly enough to absorb her pain without suffocating it. "You're so brave, Emma. But running away doesn't make it better. It could make things worse." "I just wanted to be alone," Emma whispered, her voice muffled against Maria's shoulder. "I thought no one would care." "That's not true," Maria said, pulling back slightly, her hands framing Emma's tear-streaked cheeks. "Look around. Everyone came to find you. You are loved, Emma. This is what family and community means: showing up when it matters." As she spoke, Maria's gaze flickered to the horizon where the sun was now dipping below the trees, casting fiery colors across the sky. A momentary distraction, but then she returned her focus to Emma. "Do you see them? All those people?" She continued, nodding towards the distant figures of their friends and neighbors. "They care about you so much. They want to protect you. We all feel your pain." Emma's gaze followed her mother's pointing finger. Through tear-filled eyes, she caught glimpses of familiar faces: Lucas, nervously wringing his hands, David, pacing with his phone glued to his ear, many others with worry etched across their features. As understanding dawned, Emma's body relaxed slightly in Maria's embrace. It was as if a shroud of darkness had lifted, revealing a flicker of hope. "I didn't realize they really care?" she whispered, uncertainty wrapping around her words like a fragile thread. "They do," Maria affirmed, her heart swelling with both pride and fear. "But you have to let them in. It might feel scary, but together we can face the hurt. Alone, the pain is too heavy to bear." Emma's eyes searched Maria's, looking for answers, for reassurance. Children often carry burdens that seem insurmountable, and Maria felt that weight pressing down on both of them. "I can try," Emma finally said, her voice a whisper, a fragile promise. Just then, Lucas rushed toward them, his eyes wide with concern. "Emma!" His voice cracked with emotion as he dropped to the ground beside them. He pulled her close, as if afraid she might disappear again. "I was so worried," he exclaimed, tears shining in his own eyes. "Don't ever scare me like that again." The bond between them shimmered with healing, a blend of love and compassion that began to stitch together the seams torn by fear. As they embraced, Maria couldn't help but think about how fragile these moments were, how easily they could slip away. "Emma, will you come back with us now?" she asked softly, studying her daughter's face for a sign of willingness. "We can face this together, we can talk. You are brave, and we'll always fight for you." "I will," Emma replied, a budding sense of resolve in her voice, but even as relief washed over Maria, a shadow of doubt loomed in her mind. What awaited them when they returned? Would the bullies still be there, lurking, ready to strike again? And as they began to rise, Maria caught sight of a figure standing slightly apart from the crowd, a girl who wore an unreadable expression. A shiver ran down Maria's spine, a deep-set worry blossoming within her. What truths would this moment reveal? And how would they confront the darkness hiding just beyond the division of their gathering? The path ahead felt uncertain, but one thing was clear: this was just the beginning of their fight. The crowd shifted, voices mingling into a symphony of concern, hope, and love. As Maria stood, holding Emma's hand tightly, she felt an electric buzz in the air. It was the sense that something was about to happen, a moment that could change everything. "Mom, who is that?" Emma asked, her voice barely above a whisper as she pointed to the girl lingering at the edge of the gathering. There was something familiar about her, yet the expression she wore, part defiance, part longing, was unreadable. That's Jenna," Maria replied slowly, her heart quickening. She remembered the girl as one of the louder voices that had teased Emma, yet there was more depth to the girl than the hurtful words she had spoken. Maria couldn't help but notice the flicker of uncertainty in Jenna's eyes, as if she battled against her own demons at this very moment. Emma's grip tightened on Maria's hand. "Do you think she's here to hurt me again?" The doubt in her voice made Maria's heart ache. "I don't know, sweetheart," Maria said softly. "But maybe it's worth talking to her. Sometimes, the people who hurt us the most are the ones who are hurting inside too." Just then, Jenna stepped closer. Her eyes darted around before settling on Emma. "Hey, I wanted to say I'm sorry," she hesitated, her voice cracking under the weight of her words. "I didn't mean the things I said. I was just what? Angry? Stupid?" Emma interrupted, her brows furrowing in skepticism. Jenna looked taken aback but then nodded, a hint of vulnerability surfacing. "Yeah. I guess I am. I don't even know why I acted that way. It's just I see you being so happy, and it makes me feel less. I thought if I could make you feel bad, it would make me feel better." Maria exchanged glances with Emma, trying to gauge her daughter's reaction. Emma's expression shifted from anger to sympathy, confusion flickering in her eyes. It wasn't every day that someone confronted their own mistakes so openly. "I don't want to fight anymore, Jenna," Emma said quietly, her voice steady despite the pain she had felt. I just want to be accepted. I'm tired of being hurt. The sincerity in Emma's voice seemed to pull an invisible thread connecting them, weaving understanding where animosity once thrived. Jenna's shoulders slumped slightly as tension eased from her body. I get that. I really do. Can we start over? Maria felt a swell of hope. She was witnessing something profound, an olive branch extended through hurt and confusion. It was a small but significant step towards healing. Okay, Emma said, her voice softening. Maybe we can try to be friends? Jenna's face brightened, a flicker of light momentarily illuminating her features. Yes. I'd like that. As the two girls shared tentative smiles, Maria couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning, not just for them, but for everyone in their community. Suddenly, David moved closer, still clenching his phone, his brow furrowed. Guys, can we all just take a moment? There's someone here who needs us. The weight of his words hung in the air. Maria felt her heart race. Who? David pointed towards the entrance of the park. A familiar face stepped forward, one that made both mother and daughter freeze. Sarah, the girl who had always been there for them, was visibly shaken, and Maria felt a pang of dread. What's wrong, Sarah? Maria called out, her heart racing. Sarah took a breath, looking around at the crowd. It's about the rumors. They're more serious than we thought. We need to talk, and I think everyone deserves to hear this. The crowd quieted, expectation mixed with fear. What was Sarah about to reveal? As stifled breaths surrounded them, Maria felt a chill. It felt like their fragile peace was about to be tested. What hidden truths would surface, and how would they guide the path ahead? Sarah's gaze swept over the crowd, a sea of anxious faces staring back at her. She took another deep breath, as if bracing herself for impact. The rumors, they aren't just whispers anymore. There's been talk about a group targeting kids. They're spreading lies, trying to manipulate us, the unity we're feeling. It's being threatened. The tension in the air thickened. Murmurs swept through the crowd like a wave. Fear erupted, anger flared, and emotions collided. Maria tightened her grip on Emma's hand, echoing her daughter's apprehension. This was no longer just about Emma and Jenna. This was about them all. Wait, David interjected, his voice raised above the chaos. How do you know this? Who told you? Sarah's eyes sparkled with unshed tears. I overheard them. They think it would be funny to watch us tear each other apart, she said, her voice trembling. They're watching us. If they see us divided, they win. A wave of outrage and disbelief rushed through the gathering. Maria felt her heart pound. The safety of their community was at risk. What do we do? She called out, voice steady against the rising tide of uncertainty, hoping to rally the group. We need to stick together, Sarah continued, her voice gaining strength. We have to support each other more than ever. If we show them that we won't be easily torn apart, they'll see it's not worth their time. Emma exchanged a glance with Jenna, both girls digesting the weight of the revelation. Maria watched them, both seemed to realize this was bigger than their earlier conflict. An unfurling bond had begun to form, a shared understanding that perhaps their pain was more deeply rooted than they had thought. Maybe we should organize a meeting, Jenna suggested, her voice cutting through the noise like a knife. We can talk about how to support each other, how to make sure this doesn't escalate. Emma nodded slowly, the apprehension fading into determination. Yes. That sounds right, Emma added, a spark igniting in her eyes. Sarah's expression brightened slightly, her shoulders lifting as she sensed the shift in energy. That's it. If we all come together, share our experiences, we can fight against this. We need to make sure everyone knows they're not alone. Maria felt a swell of pride and relief wash over her. Hope ignited in the crowd, voices rising in unison, pledging their support to one another. The fear that had gripped them moments ago began to dissipate, replaced by a sense of unity, a community banding together in the face of adversity. But just as she started to breathe easier, Maria noticed something out of the corner of her eye. A shadow slipped into the park's entrance, catching her attention. A figure cloaked in darkness, the same menacing presence that had invaded their safe space. The cheers of solidarity faded into the background as she focused on the intruder. "Stay back!" she yelled, her voice firm yet laced with fear. The crowd turned as one, curiosity mixed with dread. What did this figure want? Who were they really? In that moment, the air thickened again with uncertainty. The fragile peace they had fought for was wavering. The next move could change everything. Would they fight back, or would fear consume them? The figure lingered at the edge of the park, cloaked in shadows, the fading sunlight adding an unnerving air to their presence. Maria's heart raced, and an icy grip wrapped around her insides. She could feel the energy in the crowd shift from hope to terror. "Stay together!" Sarah shouted, trying to reignite the solidarity they had just built. The body of the crowd quivered, uncertainty tugging at their resolve. "What do they want?" David muttered, his eyes darting. A mixture of bravado and anxiety filled his voice as he stepped closer, narrowing his gaze on the shadowed figure. "Who are you?" he called out, transforming fear into a challenge, even if his voice trembled slightly. A moment passed like an eternity. The figure shifted, and the collective breath of the crowd caught in their throats. Just as dread threatened to choke them, a voice emerged, strange and distant. "Is this how you treat your fellow neighbor?" A tall, slender woman stepped forward, pulling back the hood of her dark cloak. It was Mrs. Lovett, the eccentric lady from down the street. Her hair was disheveled, and her eyes sparkled strangely, a mix of urgency and pleading. "I've come to warn you." Shock washed over Maria. This wasn't the same voice they expected to echo with darkness. It was frayed and raw, laced with a sincerity that tugged at something deep inside. "Warn us about what?" Maria asked, trying to gather the scattered pieces of her calm. "We already know about the rumors." Mrs. Lovett shook her head, stepping closer, her hands trembling. "No, you don't understand. What you've heard is just the beginning. They're not just spreading lies. They're planning something, much worse." A chill swept through the crowd again, but this time it was accompanied by a sense of urgency. Maria could see fear etched on everyone's faces, but also a flicker of curiosity igniting lives normally consumed by worry. "Speak clearly." "We deserve to know," David demanded, taking a cautious step forward. Mrs. Lovett glanced around nervously. "I wish I could come sooner. I overheard their plans while cleaning at the old warehouse. They're plotting something that'll hurt not just your kids, but the whole community. They believe they can instigate chaos, turning children against one another." "What kind of chaos?" Emma piped in, her youthful voice breaking through the adults' tension. Mrs. Lovett tightened her grip on the edges of her cloak, her expression grave. "They want to exploit your fears. If your children fear each other, it weakens you all. You need to be aware and prepare for what's coming." Maria's heart sank. An intertwining sense of dread and hope churned within her. What could they do? How could they prepare for something when they did not know what it was? "Do you know who they are?" Sarah asked, stepping closer to Mrs. Lovett. "Do you have names?" With a deep breath, the woman nodded. "Yes, but it's complicated and there are more layers to this than any of you understand. You need to trust each other, trust your children, and then we need to act, and quickly." The urgency in her voice struck a chord throughout the crowd. A decision loomed, fragile yet necessary. They could either choose to withdraw back into their shells or unite stronger than before. "Let us set up that meeting," Jenna said boldly. "We need a plan to face this." "Yes," Emma echoed, her voice stronger now, igniting the other spirits. "Together. Yet, as they moved closer to their newfound resolve, a distant sound echoed a low, menacing laugh drifting through the park like smoke. Anxiety stirred again, and Maria found herself tightening her grip on her daughter's hand. Was it a threat? A lingering signal from those who intended chaos? The feeling of safety was a ghost in the distance. The fight was just beginning, but one truth echoed within Maria: this battle wouldn't just be about keeping their unity but about confronting the shadows lurking beneath. How far were they willing to go to salvage what they held dear? And what would the cost be? The laughter faded into an unsettling silence, and it felt as if time itself had paused. Maria could see the worry mirroring in the eyes of those around her. The collective heartbeat of the crowd echoed a fragile hope, and yet, a palpable fear lingered like fog in the cool evening air. "Let us regroup at my house," Maria said, her voice steadying with leadership she didn't realize she possessed. "We can lay out a plan, figure out who we are dealing with." Nods rippled through the gathered faces. David took a step closer. "Do you really think that's wise? What if they're listening? We can't just put a target on our backs. We need to talk." Jenna interjected, her voice firm. "The longer we wait, the more time we give them to act. We need freedom to express our fears better together than apart." Sarah looked around, gathering strength. "It's not just about secrecy, it's about understanding. If Mrs. Lovett can help, then we owe it to ourselves to hear her out." The woman in question shifted nervously. "I'll do what I can to help, but you must listen carefully. They're not just unknown faces, they have influence. They can sway opinion, twist it to their advantage." Maria felt her stomach churn. "Then we need to be the opposite of that. This community has some of the strongest families. Together we can rise above whatever they throw at us." As the group began to move towards her home, Maria mentally steeled herself for what was to come. Just then, a soft tug at her sleeve drew her attention. Emma stood there, her wide eyes searching her mother's face. "Mom, what if they come for us?" The question landed heavy. Maria knelt so she could look directly into her daughter's eyes. "They might try, sweetheart. But we will protect each other. Your friends and their families, we're all stronger together, remember?" Emma nodded slowly, though uncertainty still clouded her expression. As they continued towards home, the faint laughs echoed again, but a new sound followed: hushed whispers. The whispers seeped into their conversations, building a thick tension around them all. Maria couldn't shake the feeling that dark eyes were watching from behind the trees. It sent a shiver down her spine. Once at her house, they crammed themselves into the living room, a mosaic of anxious faces and shaky breaths. Maria grabbed the nearest pad and a pen, determined to focus the rising worries into something productive. "Okay," she began, her voice commanding attention. "What do we know? Who can we trust?" Before she could finish, the doorbell rang, cutting through the tension like a knife. Everyone froze. The last light of evening danced through the windows, casting their anxious shadows against the walls. "Who could that be?" David asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "Is it them?" Jenna's face paled, her hands trembling. Mustering courage, Maria walked cautiously to the door, her heart drumming a nervous beat. She glanced back at the group. They were a sea of worry and determination. Opening the door slowly, she braced herself for anything. To her shock, a familiar face appeared: Rick, a neighbor and local handyman. His face was lined with worry. "I'm here to help," he said, urgency bursting from his words. "I overheard something. You all need to know what's really going on." As Maria stepped aside to let him in, urgency turned into urgency mixed with hope. Rick could have the key to what they needed. Yet, as he entered, the door creaked ominously, echoing warnings that something more sinister was still lurking. Could this be the lifeline they'd been searching for? Or would it only lead them deeper into the shadows? Rick stepped inside, shaking off the chill of the evening as he closed the door behind him. The atmosphere shifted, a mix of tension and anticipation filled the room. Maria gestured him toward the cozy but cramped space, where every face watched him intently, heartbeats resounding like a collective drum. "What did you overhear?" Maria asked, keeping her voice steady. Despite the whirlwind of anxiety around her, Rick ran a hand through his hair, the storm in his eyes betraying his calm demeanor. "I was fixing a faucet at the McAllister's when I overheard a conversation between Mr. McAllister and some of his associates. They were talking about a plan to push through changes that don't just affect our neighborhood but the whole city." He paused, glancing at their worried faces. "It's about more than just real estate. They want to take over resources, schools, parks, everything. They think no one will notice." Gasps erupted, and Maria could see doubt and shock ripple through her friends. "Why would they do that? What's the endgame?" David before speaking up, punctuating the tension. "They want control," Rick replied. "Total control. And they mean to do it quietly, without opposition." He took a breath, continuing, "They've got connections, money, influencers. They can shape the narrative however they want." As he spoke, the group began to whisper, shadows of fear creeping into their expressions. Maria held up her hand to quiet them, her mind racing. "So what do we do?" "There may be a way to expose them," Rick said, his voice low but urgent. "There's a meeting in a few days. A fundraiser meant to rally support for their plan. If we can infiltrate that, if we can record what they say, we might have enough to counteract whatever they're planning." Panic flooded Maria's heart. "Infiltrate? You mean we have to go in there? What if they find us out?" "That's the risk we need to take," Rick said. "If we do nothing, they'll just move forward unchecked. But if we can get evidence, we can show people the truth." The room fell silent, the weight of his words sinking deep. Maria's thoughts drifted to Emma, her little girl who would be caught up in this upheaval if things went wrong. Her heart felt like it was caught in a vice. "Are we ready for this?" Jenna murmured, her voice trembling with fear. "What if we're outnumbered? What if they choose to silence us?" "They won't win if we stand together," Sarah replied, her voice strengthening. "We have to be brave for our families. We can't let fear dictate our actions." Nods began to circulate, hope igniting like embers in a dying fire. Maria felt emboldened, a silent promise forming to protect her community. "All right," she said, her voice gaining strength. "We'll go to that meeting. But we need a solid plan. Strategy matters, and we'll need all hands on deck. Rick, you'll guide us through the details." Suddenly, a loud thump came from outside, making everyone jump. The sound of footsteps followed, heavy and purposeful. "Did you hear that?" David whispered, his eyes wide with alarm. Maria's heart sank. "It can't be." She moved to the window and peered out into the darkness, holding her breath. Figures loomed just beyond the porch, their outlines blurred in the fading light. They moved with purpose, as if searching for something or someone. The oppressive fear wrapped tighter around her like a shroud, and she could sense the undercurrents of panic rising. "Get down," she urged, pulling Emma close as they all ducked beneath the windows. "They're here." Once silence cloaked the room, Maria felt the weight of reality. This wasn't just about their neighborhood anymore. It was a battle for everything they held dear, a fight that had only just begun. What would happen when morning came? The uncertainty gnawed at her. And the footsteps outside grew louder, the air thick with danger waiting to strike. What had they awakened? The night stretched endlessly, filled with the silent weight of fear and determination. Maria felt the cool sweat on her forehead. The figures outside loomed ominously, and the adrenaline surged through her veins. She glanced at Emma, who was wide-eyed and trembling, so full of innocence yet now burdened by harsh realities. "Stay close to me, sweetheart," Maria whispered, her heart pounding. Inside the living room, the atmosphere was electric. Fear and bravery collided as whispers turned into plans. "They can't overpower us if we're united," Rick said, his voice steady, emboldening the group. "We need to act smart but swift. What if they see us?" Jenna's voice quivered, fear splintering the collective courage in the room. "What if they—" "Then we need to be ready," David interrupted, his voice firm. "We'll create diversions. We are not backing down from this fight. I won't let them threaten our community, our kids." Maria's protective instinct ignited flames of courage within her. "We all rise together. No one gets left behind." Nods of agreement filled the room. Maria felt connection, a blossoming unity in the face of adversity. They weren't just individuals hiding in shadows, they were a community, willing to stand up and be counted. She turned to her son, who clung to her tightly. "Lucas, you have to be brave. We might need you to help." "I'll do anything to help Emma," he declared, unyielding determination settling into his young features. The weight of precious lives wrapped around them like a protective cloak. There was a chemistry of resilience that filled the room, a promise to stand together against whatever darkness loomed outside. Then, without warning, loud banging erupted at the door, shaking them to the core. "We know you're in there. Open up." The voice was deep, threatening, and Maria felt cold fear slither down her spine. "We need to move," Rick urged. "We can't let them in. They'll know we're aware, they'll know we're coming, and they'll prepare for us." A flurry of movement erupted. They scrambled into the corners of the room, breathing slowly, hiding under staircases and behind furniture. The hurried silence was tangible, even the air felt electric with tension. With a thudding heart, Maria glanced outside the window and saw shadows shifting closer. "It's now or never, everyone," she breathed in resolve. "We need a distraction." Jenna nodded, excitement sparking in her eyes. "I'll create noise in the yard. That'll draw them away." "Are you sure?" Emma squeaked, worry lacing her voice. "I'm sure," she replied, determination swelling in her chest. Maria felt a protective urge surge. "Be careful." Jenna nodded, and they exchanged knowing glances, hearts beating with a newfound bravery for what lay ahead. As Jenna slipped through the back door, the conversation outside grew louder, the shadows morphing into tangible threats. Maria's heart raced, it felt like a movie scene, a dangerous climax awaiting to unravel. But in that nerve-wracking moment, a sudden twist emerged. "What if they're not here for us?" Lucas whispered, brow furrowing. "What do you mean?" Maria replied, glancing around at the others, swallowed in confusion. "What if they just want our fear? What if they're trying to push us back into hiding?" He asked, young but wise, exposing her doubts. Maria felt a flicker of clarity. "What if we stand our ground? What if we show strength instead of fear?" "Yes," Emma said, eyes brightening. "Together." The urgency escalated. They could feel the shifting morale, fear palpable yet full of courage. Moments later, the door splintered open, shadows invaded the threshold, and the unexpected emerged. Maria stepped forward, grabbing Emma's hand tightly. "Stop. You won't scare us anymore," she shouted with newfound strength, echoing through the room. The intruders paused, confusion etched on their faces. "We're here. We know about your plans. And we won't allow you to move against our community." Gasps erupted as the realization poured over everyone. This battle wasn't just about defending against external threats, it was about confronting the internal struggles within themselves, fighting against the fears that threatened disunity. A pause enveloped them, as if the world balanced on a tightrope. Maria felt the heartbeat of her community resonating, and with that realization, hope surged within them all. As the heaviness cracked, voices erupted in defiance. "Who do you think you are?" David called out. In that moment, the shadows seemed less threatening. The figures, momentarily shaken, faltered before regaining their posture. "It's time to let go of fear," Maria cried. "We stand together. We protect our own." The atmosphere shifted, threads of strength and solidarity interlocked within the room. Outside, Jenna's playful noise had created a purpose. Voices rose against fear, laughter broke the tension, and suddenly they were not alone. Families began to crowd into the living room, united in their fight. "Everyone has the right to feel safe," Maria declared, bolstered by that growing sense of community. "Together, we're unbreakable." Rick stepped forward, guiding the movement. "This is our home. We will navigate our fears and confront the threats. This is about our children, our unity." Incredible waves washed over them, a realization that their emotional bonds outmatched pure intimidation. They would show someone had their back. Those among the shadows began to retreat, baffled by the unexpected show of unity, bewildered by the courage radiating from the room. As the tension released, laughter rippled through the crowd. Cheers and shouts rang out, echoing promises of love and protection. They didn't wait for a final word from the shadows. Instead, together they channeled energy forward, ready to face an unknown future. They stood firm, shoulder to shoulder, brimming with hope, united in values of kindness and resilience. Maria felt her heart soar. Emma, clutching her mother's side, exchanged proud smiles with Lucas, their lives intertwined in a beautiful web of support. It was far from over, but today they had forged a new beginning. "All right, let us take the fight to them," Maria declared, pride swelling in her heart, and together they yelled, "We won, back down." Together, they stepped forward into the light. For nothing could dim the strong spirit of a community that chose to stand for one another, illuminating the darkness, and in that moment, with hope igniting their hearts, they realized they were the change they wished to see. You need to subscribe now to witness the incredible journeys we have ahead. This is the moment to show your support by hitting that like button now. It truly fuels our passion. Comment below with your thoughts and feelings about this emotional conclusion. And don't wait not even one more second to share this story with at least 5 friends who need to be inspired by this transformation. Let us spread the light together.